Welcome to NRW Forum Düsseldorf. I'm happy to collaborate with Goethe-Institut and Slow Media Institute for this amazing project, Streaming Egos, and I'm happy to celebrate with you the finissage of my show, Ego Update. Besides your work, I prepared also some surprises for you. We'll have a German artist, Florian Kuhlmann, who will be virtually present downstairs. We'll have some inline skaters skating the ramp. And we will have 11 interventions of art students inside the building and the exhibition as well. They are from a seminar of professor and architect Barbara Holzer from Zurich. And by the way, all your names should be at the desk, so you always can get your wristband and also enter always the exhibitions. I remember one of the first meeting with Goethe people in Brussels, and I thought afterwards, I'm really curious where this project is heading. And after having talked yesterday with some of you, after having seen some of your project, I have to say, wow, your country curators did a great job by choosing you. You are great and diverse, coming from several backgrounds, bunch of people that are working on really, really interesting projects. So I'm happy to be part of this. I'm curious about your presentations and happy to learn more about your projects. Have a great day and enjoy your stay in Düsseldorf. Thanks.
Okay, buongiorno, bonjour, buenos dias, bon dia, guten Morgen, good morning. I'm Klaus Krischok from the Goethe-Institut, not related to this one. Welcome to Düsseldorf, the city of Joseph Beuys, Heinrich Heine, Bernd und Hilla Becher, and now, of course, Streaming Egos. Not too far from Düsseldorf, a German writer and philosopher was born. His name is Richard David Precht, and he published a bestseller in 2007. The title of this bestseller is Wer bin ich und wenn ja, wie viele? Who am I, and if yes, how many? Precht digs back into the history of philosophy and he explores identity, our identities. He goes back to the Greek philosophy, he goes back into the Middle Ages, he of course drops by at Darwin and Kant, and he stops at brain research in the early 20th century. I believe his book, which is published in 2007, would now need another chapter because he completely loses out and misses out on anything that has to do with digital identities. I dare to say that this is, in a way, a new chapter of human identity that we are living through and that we're experiencing today. And maybe your research, your artistic research, your discourse research, continues to write another chapter in Precht's book. Taking literally, we are in the process of redefining ourselves in multiple new identities, layer upon layer on top of our national and political identities, gender identity, our professional and private identities, manifesting themselves in our interaction with families and social circles. The internet has, of course, become a new and fourth dimension to our very own existence, somehow independent from time, space, and possibly only loosely attached to who we are in the other world, the flesh world, as someone called it. Loosely attached to who we are or who we believe to be. So welcome to the Streaming Ego Convention organized by the Goethe-Institut in cooperation with Alain Bieber from the NRW Forum and the Slow Media Institute. A huge thank you to Ulla Wester from the Goethe-Institut Paris and everyone else involved at on the Goethe-Institut side, to Alain and to Sabria David, who you all know by now. The Goethe-Institut, as you possibly know, is Germany's cultural institute and we're operational worldwide. Digitalization is at the heart of what we do these days. Digital media help us to engage in new ways with our partners and audiences worldwide, be it through digital language classes, be it through learning apps for refugees stranded on our borders or within our borders, be it through digital conferences allowing people to meet and interact without leaving Johannesburg, Jakarta, or Sao Paulo. Be it through online libraries, which give access to the wealth of German and European literature right to your very own sofa. Through digital concert halls, which allow people to participate in concerts of the Berlin Philharmonics in Ankara, Ashgabat, and another city that starts with an A. Just to name a few examples. But the digital revolution as we experience it today is not just enabling us to do things differently than we did 10 years ago. It also requires us to think about what the digital revolution means in our day-to-day lives and means to our identities. I'll give you 3 examples. Lunch Bites in 2014 and 2015 examined the consequences of increasing ubiquity of digital technologies in the art world by addressing the role of the internet in artistic practice from a wide range of perspectives. I have to read this because this is from the Lunch Bites website. Digital Lunch Bites was focused on London and Northwest Europe, and Bernadette, who are welcome also, participated it from Baltimore and from Washington. So it was growing over the Atlantic. Sensitive Data is a project which is happening right now in North America, and the text is even more complicated, so I have to read that out as well. In the age of algorithms, surveillance has exceeded the boundaries of centralized government control, to permeate every part of our lives and transform our collective sensorium. As vast communication networks spread over the world, intensive data gathering accelerates human lives to feed the market's ever-expanding appetite. This is happening as we speak. It's happening in North America, and they just opened an exhibition called Images of Surveillance just a few days ago. And now streaming egos, which I think is equal to the other 2 examples. This is mainly focused on Southwest Europe, as you know. Can we legitimately distinguish between who we are in the digital world and who we are in the so-called flesh world? What practices are there when we create our own avatars? How do cultural differences define how we act in the global world? And how do digital egos interact with each other? Or, as Sabria David so aptly pointed out, does the real me live on the internet? Or does it live here? I hope you will be able to answer some of these questions or discuss some of these questions. I'm not sure you will be able to write the next chapter in Mr. Precht's book, but if Mr. Precht contacts you, because he's a very, very business-oriented writer and a very, very busy writer, you may be able to at least assist him in writing his new bestseller. I wish you all the best for this conference, wonderful discussions, and I hope you will leave Düsseldorf inspired and well connected for your future work. Thank you very much.
Yes, a warm welcome from me too. I'm Sabria David. I have been backed to curate this project, which is a great honor to me. I'm also curating the German local cycle, which will be there, the salon. Yes, I founded the Slow Media Institute not far from here in Bonn. And what we do is research and consulting on digital change, as Klaus Krischok said, digital revolution. And what we are looking for is how can we use that for good, for a better society, for a maybe, yes, if you want, post-digital society. That means a society where digital media are obvious and natural, like water and air. And our question is, how do we want this post-digital society to be? And of course, that is also the question of streaming egos. And streaming egos, what is this project about? The project is divided mainly into 2 parts. The first part was the Länderzirkel, the so-called, where the local curators worked on a local basis in their countries on the subject digital identities. And that was a national discourse, of course, and now the convention is here to come together and to show us what we did. So the convention where you are all is on show and share. So we want to show what we did and to share with all of you, and to know for you who is working on that. I may introduce to you the local curators. We have the Spanish circle with Mateo Fejo. I did that good, okay? He's there, Mateo, would you, okay. Because yesterday we were in a restaurant and no one knew who the others were, so we want to change this today. We have Portugal with Sandra Vieira Jürgens, she's there, that's Sandra. Welcome, Sandra. We have Italy with two curators, Marco Mancuso, there, and Filippo Lorenzin. Hello, Filippo. Then we have France with Marie Lechner. Where's Marie? There, behind the, almost behind the wall. Marie. Bram Kravitz for Belgium. Hello, Bram. And Germany curated by myself. Yes, they all will introduce their works to you. And so the convention is the link between the national discourses and the following transnational discourses. We will come together tomorrow and extract the main aspects of digital identities. For example, this. Some digital things are happening. Yes, and the part two, we will of course, the more transnational discourses are, the more they are digital. So that is what we will focus on the question, how can we make our discourses transnational? How can we use digital culture to enable discourse, to bring people together and to shape identities and common sense? So that was the second part. And the second part of the Streaming Egos project will be, will end with a common work, which will picture both parts and go back to the Goethe-Institut. Yes, now I want to introduce you, except the curators, some other people which will attend you during the day. Bernadette Wegenstein, we are very glad to have a real expert at our side for those 2 days. Bernadette is both professor of media studies at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore and also independent filmmaker, so she's theorist and artist. That matches very, very well. And she also curates the Media Artist in Residency with the Baltimore Museum of Art. So we are in very good hands with Bernadette, and we are very glad to have you here. She will moderate the 2 days, today and tomorrow, and will help us to change from national to transnational discourse. Then I introduce to you Gunnar Sohn. He's there. He's a known economic journalist and a conference online streamer. He also wrote a book on live streaming and web TV, so he's the perfect man behind the cameras. And yes, this will be streamed and also recorded. So if you leave Düsseldorf inspired, which I hope, you can come back and be nostalgic and look again what you did and how it was your inspired days in Düsseldorf. And the other person is Ulla Wester. Where is she? There. She's the project manager and coordinator from the Goethe-Institut, in Paris. And we both will be there for you. If you have any questions, just talk to us. Thank you, Ulla. Yes, dear guests and participants. So human communities are based on discourse. And let's have a look at what that means in our days. I invite you all to be part of that Streaming Egos project. and process. It's a project and a process, and with full of inspiration, also improvisation. Please join, participate, engage, be part of, contribute, or just relax and sit down and enjoy just as you like. Thanks a lot. And now I think we start with the serious things. I hand over the microphone to Bernadette. No.
I think so, no?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I thought we...
Okay, good.
Bernadette.
Thank you. Hello and welcome again. I will be helping to guide us all through these really exciting pavilions, exhibitions, discussions. My role is really also to keep the time, which I'm not sure I'm the best person to have been chosen for that, but I will have to stick to a timeline because we have so many exciting artworks here to see, and we want to give them each the time that they deserve. I will now start introducing our first country circle, as you say, Länderzirkel, which starts with Spain. And so just a little organizationally, what happens today is that we will meet here to discuss as a group and for the curators to introduce their shows here. And then we will also be guided through the shows. And of course, two of them are performance-based, action-based. And so the group will follow into the various areas that the exhibition takes place. But we're starting today with Mateo Feijo, and he's the curator of the Spanish exhibition. And he's an actor, theater director, choreographer, and artist, and of course, curator. And all of the curators have such amazing CVs, really, I have to say, that I will only be able to pick a few of the points, you know, that I have chosen, just to give, because I think it's most interesting to hear from them and not from me about them. But I want to tell you that he's currently the artistic director of the theater festival Escena Contemporánea. He also worked as a consultant for the Galician Choreographic Center and the arts program of the Pilsen European Capital of Culture. He teaches at the University Carlos III in Madrid, and currently is working with AFAF Paris and the Chimeta Found. And it's a project, I think, that's extremely interesting on the mobility of European content and Arab content, and it's a truly transnational project that he's working on at the moment. Welcome, Mateo. Please come up to present your works.
Thank you very much. Okay. I don't know what to say, really, because for me, I think that will be easier to go to the installation and try to show the different kind of works. But okay. From the beginning, when I have the invitation for this project with the Goethe-Institut in Madrid, I always thought that for me the important question was more subjective and more in relation with the intimacy of each one of us. So I would like to work from the personal character of each artist that I convocate for this performance, for this installation. During a lot of time, I don't know, 1 year more or less, we was working, each one taking part in the Streaming Eagles blog. And I convocate a painter, an illustrator, a monopero, a musician, Dr. Kurogo, and a choreographer, Sonia Gomez, and another artists that was like, there was like a satellite around this main group. By the other side, from the beginning, I have the idea that I need a different space to put this kind of reflections inside. And it was the reason because I decided to work with Marco Canavacci from Plastic Fantastic. For me, it's very important what's happening in the spaces, because I think that the human style of life and the mean to move and the relation between our bodies and the architecture is very important. So if you are going in a different space, you have a different way of movement and even the way to speak and the relation with the other people change. So for me, it was very important to create a different space. So in this way, I start to work with Marco and propose him the idea that to create a different element that will be the recipient to take and to receive the propositions of the other artists. And by the other side, it was like a dialogue between the architect, the real architecture, in this case, the place of the forum, where we are going to put this new element that that will be the recipient for the different pieces of the other artist. And so this was the way to start this dialogue. By other side, there is another artist that is Big Snake. Nobody of the artists that I convocate for the block from Streaming Egos knows that Big Snake was working and creating a new and a different piece with the elements that take part and that they are going to post in the blog. And Big Snake decided to use the draws of Monoperro and photos of Ophelia and different elements to build a triptych that is in relation with the Las Tres Gracias. Las Tres Gracias? The Three Graces, of course. And it's a reinvention in relation with this typical and topic picture in the history. So this is the process, and here we are. Thanks.
Okay. So again, for the organization of this morning, I will now introduce the Belgian curator, Bram Kravitz, and after that, both performance-based exhibition spaces, namely Spain and Belgium, are going to start right away, and their spaces will be active until 6 p.m. this evening. And there will be time to engage again with the curator and to ask questions when we're being taken through the exhibition space itself. But right now I'd like to bring Bram to the front, and Bram Kravitz is a new media, there he is, new media and media art network culture specialist. It's also what he teaches currently at the School of Arts at the University College Ghent in Belgium. He ran the known Cymatics Festival, a festival for digital culture in Brussels, and worked as a curator and programmer with the Institute of Network Cultures in Amsterdam, as well as with the European Cities of Advanced Sound. Currently is involved in IMAL, which is in Brussels, and Center for Digital Culture. Please join me in welcoming Bram. Oh, are you going to talk? I see.
A never-ending performative laboratory, but for this time and this occasion, it should be short. Hello? Hello. https://www.be. spoofing memes, memes, dezelfde, hetzelfde, stichos, gleiches, mismos, unself, onself. So we are here to introduce the public performative interface. I'm Marthe van Dissel. I am Belgium, and I am your host. For this public performative interface, we did it before. And then it was for audio virtual presences. So we had one space which was more concentrated on the body as we know. And there was enough props to then also discover our audio virtual presences. And there was something like this, a public performative interface. And there is also one here now in the NRW forum. So you can do things with the interface. You can develop it or use the interface for. So I'm your host for this public performative interface. But actually it's not a host, I'm your pipe. So your pipe, I don't know, ceci n'est pas une pipe. What is a pipe? Actually, a pipe is something, the whole Unix philosophy is based on it. So you have a method in which you somehow have a little program, and what is actually coming out of that program can come immediately in another program. So you can change programs, so you can make an infinite loop of software. And in promiscuous pipelines, a project by Constant VZW, the question was whether if you pipe things which are task-oriented tools in which we can be they are very interchangeable, flexible, and but they are optimized to do the one thing, and they do it well. But is that not leading us to a rather predictable and ultimately normative set? So, standard in, standard out. I pipe the public performative interface to the electromagnetic spectrum. So here we have a view of the whole electromagnetic spectrum which is surrounding us. Document, represent, document, represent. Stop! Start living in the present. The past will always last. The future lies behind. Tell me how. Tell me how. We can be an owl. Or a firefly, or a lion. I feel there is a lot of Wi-Fi. Spoofing. It seems I was also spoofing somehow the house style of the hotel room. Right, I hope you had time to read this sentence. Without knowing. But every software, there is always software is designed, and this software really gives us the solution. Simple, secure, compliant, one identity. But who has the key Who's managing that identity? And here in the NRW forum, it was actually quite easy because sometimes we have physical spaces, virtual spaces. It was actually quite easy to get in because it's a public institution, so they have opening hours. So the door, it was not locked, the door was open. And even when I visited here, seemingly SSH, the port for secure shell on the public Wi-Fi, is also open. So while the institution is not open physically, virtually, you can secure shell to anything. This is the interface I'm going to pipe. It's like a sort of overview. There is a paper also over there. So I pipe the electromagnetic field. There is 300 gigahertz till 430 hertz. There is a door, an infrared switch, which will somehow activate your animal being. It has an axolotl in it. This is an axolotl. This is not an axolotl. This is not an axolotl. This is not an axolotl. Then we also have the SSTV, the slow scan television on the 14320 hertz. I pipe it with Oscar November 3, Mike Charlie Romeo. It's my call sign in the ham radio. So it's more over there. On the 100.3 megahertz, we have over there some, you see it also on the network. You can upload to the network. I will show how the interface looks like. There you have an interface, you can upload files and it will be immediately streamed to 100.3 megahertz. And there is also a chat function. So you can also use it if you see it on your mobile devices. Then Lucille Calmel. Yeah, I don't know the hertz. She's on it, but normally I have this other device where you can pipe the hertz. So I don't know, a sort of brain device. So let's see on which frequency she is. She presents the animals who I am on this stage, and it will be at 2 o'clock. Then she will introduce a parrot. Ceci n'est pas un perroquet. Ceci n'est pas un perroquet. Ceci n'est pas un perroquet. In English, this is not a parrot. And this is not, ceci n'est pas un perroquet. Et to pipe to the next thing in the public performative interface, I explain a little about this parrot. I go into typical stereotypes. This is a Belgian female hacker in the top 10, only 1 minute. Oh, okay. She's a Belgian hacker. She made this, also this virus. It's a red attack. It's a Belgian security hacker who then started working for the company he hacked. Then we have extremely local, extremely local, between 6 and 8 it will happen. Then we still have the 2.4 gigahertz, maximum 33 characters Wi-Fi. At the moment, it is this box. It is not working, but it's twerking. And at the moment, you have to, you can plug in, and it's a networked hard drive. So please, if you have files you want to share and continue in the streaming Ego's digital identity project, it would be great to upload it. Maybe it works not here today, but tomorrow in the hotel or this night. It's a captive portal which made it not work, but the project was to encourage self-hosting, net neutrality, become ISP, and collectively train to circumvent error code 45.1, which maybe will start to appear. It's when content gets censored, referring to Fahrenheit 451. And you can access it on this IP, but I only have 30 seconds. So, and I would welcome you to the firewall and security, or a web of trust, vulnerability, penetration tests, how to circumvent the Great China Wall, the Korea OS in freedom of speech. Is there a difference between state policy or they rule, our text, voice, images, and experiences? Time to drop your apple, a snake, before a belief is memeing an ideology of the selfie. We don't need for a we, a collective body. Ego is the mind, around is frequency. Contact your ISP. Stop TTIP. Distribute our seeds, knowledge, documents, experience, and open source. Upload the ego, maximum 32 characters, a semantic Wi-Fi discourse on the self and the together, constant becoming, and challenging our representation in the web of still Newtonian existence. Activate quantum biology. Join us. And yes, I would really like you to join us at 4:30 and 7:30 for entering the firewall. It's outside, we can meet. And the parrot will try to jump through it.
Hello. Thank you, Marta. It might be interesting to introduce the project. Where we came from. So my name is Bram Krevits. We are the Belgian team. And I started by defining identity as an ongoing performative action, a performative struggle. But also the Belgian identity was something which was central to our project. Actually, to be more precise, the lack of an identity in Belgium was our inspiration. And specifically the forms of identity expression which come out of a lack of identity. To be more precise, you have the radicalization, radicality, but also, well, think of the people you all know in Molenbeek, Brussels, but also vernacular language, language as an infrastructure, language as a think of slang, think of the memes on the internet where Marta was referring to. What we did, we organized a residency with 3 artists and a co-curator. We did a residency at the Media Art Department of the School of Arts Ghent for 6 days, which was really like an artistic research project with 3 artists who didn't know each other, who had completely different positions in this realm of performance and new media. Lucille Kamel, Marten van Dessel, and Marijke de Rover, which led to our short title, A Never-Ending Performative Laboratory. But for this occasion, it should be short. So this will be happening as being introduced by Marten. It's quite a radical artistic dissolution and a distribution of identity. With interventions and infrastructures we set up here. Both inside and outside the building, both visible and invisible in the electromagnetic spectrum. You have, you can upload, you can listen, you can download. So I would like to invite you to let you confuse yourself in the results of our analog deep dream. That's a bit what happened. So thank you, Goethe Brussels. Thank you, I don't know where you are. Thank you, Goethe Paris. And thank you. I'm looking forward to.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce to you Marco Mancuso, the curator of the Italian exhibition. And Marco is an art critic and curator and the founder of the prestigious DigiCult, which is part of the Leonardo affiliate and that is part of the MIT Media Lab, which is an online platform that examines the impact of media technologies and science on art, design, culture, and contemporary society. Within DigiCult, he worked as a co-curator and media partner with many media institutions throughout the world, just to name a few: Transmediale, Sony Acts, the Venice Biennale, Open World Forum, ISEA, Silent Media Art Lab, Mixed Media Fabrica, Share Festival, Japan Media Art Festival, and many more. He also curated for Musique et Culture Digitale the publication The Open Future, and is currently part of the publication Cultural Blogging in Europe by labforculture.org. Please join me in welcoming Marco, who will be introducing the Italian exhibition, and which we will actually be led through by him after the coffee break.
Okay, thank you, Bernadette. Yes, my name is Marco Mancuso, and I want to first thank Christina Hasenau, and all the people from Goethe-Institut. It was really a great pleasure, a great honor to work with you, and I want to thank also Filippo Lorenzin, who is the co-curator together with me. I will give a very brief introduction, and I want to leave the stage also to Filippo, that has to introduce himself, but he's a young and talented curator and critic and part of the digital network. And he's also absolutely involved in the possible connection between digital and media technologies, online technologies, and contemporary art and society. I will not talk to you about the artists. The artists will talk about themselves during the tour of our Italian pavilion, but I want to also introduce them very, very quickly. We have here Alterazioni Video. We have a small part of Alterazioni Video, half size of Alterazioni Video. The best part. There are four artists, a collective of 4 artists. We have here the 2 Berlinese side. There is also the New Yorkese side, and they define themselves. I found out they define themselves as a platform more than a collective of artists, as a platform of media artists and media activists absolutely interested in the impact of digital technologies and video technology, especially on contemporary art and society. We have here Salvatore Iaconese, Oriana Persico, and they are the former members of Art is Open Source. Art is Open Source also is more than a duo of artists. It's an international network of artists and practitioners interested in the crossing connection between art, design, science, communication, performance, and they are very keen and interested in human beings and how digital technologies have an impact on human beings in the contemporary society in which they live. We have also a small part of Iocose, 2 of them. They're a collective from 2006. They have been working from 2006. They're also divided. They live in London, Berlin, and in Italy, in Brescia. And they are also media activists and net artists, if we could use this word that is not used so much anymore. And they're interested as well in the impact of online technologies and media technologies in general, with a very ironic sometimes approach to the use of technologies more in general. And finally, we have Silvio Lorusso. I don't see him. Where are you, Silvio? Oh, he's there. Okay. Silvio Lorusso, who is also an artist and designer, and absolutely, he also himself is absolutely focused on impact of online technologies, but media more in general, with a very critical reflection on the impact of technologies on human beings and contemporary society, and of course, contemporary art. I want to spend a really few words because it's impossible to use these short minutes to introduce you all the whole concept. We thought, me and Filippo, decided to think about this very complex, subject of the ego. You know what is ego, and it's life sometimes is strange, because when Christina called me the very first time, we are talking about last April probably, and calling me to curate for Italian Pavilion such a complex concept like the ego itself. I was thinking about this idea of ego in my personal life. And life sometimes is really, really strange. And so it was a subject very important for me from a personal point of view. And I was challenged to try to understand also how this concept is also important for other people, and to think about regionally of how it's also a subject for Italian people. And when I shared the very first ideas with Filippo, and I really thank you for the time spent together to think and and try to struggle around this idea. It was quite impossible for us at the very beginning to say, okay, Italian people has an approach, an ego's approach to the online technologies that is different regionally from people from other countries, even if these countries are coming from Europe or worldwide. There is not properly a specific attitude. We are living in a global planet, of course, and all the influences are crossing border differences in a way. But after a while, we thought a little bit more, and it was absolutely clear to us that Italian people, in a way, especially in the last 5-6 years, they become absolutely more and more, more interested to talk about themselves and to show something about their egos that is not properly ego, is not something and simply a representation of themselves. We are not talking anymore about selfies. We are not talking anymore about our bodies. We are not talking anymore about our faces. We are talking about something more complex, more dynamic. Italian people is more keen in this moment, especially in the last 5-6 years, and they prefer to talk about the self in terms of narration. That's the main concept. That's the main idea that we found out. A narrative, the construction of a pure narrative, which is not properly and only a personal narrative, made, of course, of different elements that could be texts or videos or images or personal files to put online on social networks. But it's something more complicated and more dynamic, which quietly work on two different tracks, which are on one side a personal attitude and on the other side a professional attitude. Of course, Italy is a quite tricky country, you know, very well. Maybe you don't know so well because you don't live there, but we are living from 10 years in a very delicate and dramatic political, social, economical situation with a lot of lack of money to culture, with absolutely bad working conditions, with an economical crisis that affect our lives every day. And so, of course, people relate to online technologies, showing themselves and giving themselves an image of themselves, which is not a pure image of their own nature, but it seems like a mask. It seems like a face, a facade of themselves that has to be effective, has to be attractive, has to be cool, and has to be, as we say, influential. This is the main and core and strong idea that we put at the base of our concept. You can find, of course, a much more complicated discourse about this in the very introduction text that we wrote together with Filippo. And so we asked to specifically these artists, which are not only artists, first of all, are friends. Second of all, they are friends among them. They know each other from many years. They shared many experiences, especially in the media activist world. They have a very critical approach to the subjects around online and digital technologies. And so we wanted to give them the chance to reflect critically on this idea of narration, to this idea of a representation of the ego of the person, which is absolutely more complex than the pure facade and the pure representation of ourselves. This was absolutely clear, and I close it here. This was absolutely clear to us. It's important to say it was absolutely clear to us about 6 months ago. We are talking about the 1st of May. We are talking about the opening of the expo, of the Universal Exhibition that happened in my country, in my town, in the town in which I live, which is Milano. During that day, maybe you know, the 1st of May is also the Workers' Day. So during that day, of course, there was such a big economical and business event like the Expo, and another event that is absolutely, of course, started from the bottom, made of people that belongs to the artistic counterculture movements and the avant-garde movements and people, cultural operators that suffer about the socio-economical conditions in which we live in our country. During that days, of course, there were a lot of riots in the streets, and I remember exactly that day, following the social networks, Facebook and Twitter, and also the day after, the kind of narration, the kind of narrative, the kind of representation of our own egos was absolutely quite divided and split on a double level. There was a people talking about themselves from a personal point of view, and talking about what was happening at the moment from a personal point of view, and people that talk about themselves and talked about what was happening at the moment from a professional point of view. Also, those people for us were really something that we didn't like and we do not belong to. Those people that some years ago belonged to the counterculture movements and the avant-garde movements and independent artistic movements, that nowadays are much more connected from a professional point of view to those network of business communities and that are interested in the startup movements, on the cultural innovation operations and the world of makers sometimes. You know, all those networks and businesses that at the moment in Italy, in this specific economical condition, are considered as the networks and the behaviors that will be the part of the new renewal and renaissance from an economical point of view of our country. Forgetting what is art, forgetting what is the real culture, and forgetting what is the real representation of our egos in terms of our own identities, which has to be a pure identity, and that is for us an element of difference and not a representation of belonging to something that we do not belong to. And I want to leave the stage to Filippo, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. Good morning, everybody. From the earliest stages of this project, Marco and I have decided to engage an open discussion with the artists that we wanted to involve. Because of this, we selected artists who have been active interlocutors, brilliant minds with whom we have discussed the issues at the center of our curatorial project that Marco has just outlined. The artists with whom we had the opportunity to work have understood our approach and have accepted our aims, giving insights and some suggestions about the project. Each of them has had the freedom to study different issues at the heart of our project. The collective Io Cose has reflected on the role and the public perception of the artist in commercial contexts. We asked to a professional photographer to be portrayed. These photographs have become part of stock materials available to magazines and websites that are searching pictures of artists. They have been portrayed following the clichés of the artist's image, in unnatural poses of the body and with brushes in hand. The cliché wants the artist limited within a reassuring imagery tied to craftsmanship and to delicate approaches, which does not hurt. The artist can get visibility only if reproduces some specific clichés, and this project by Io Cose is an answer to this trend. Another project that reflects on the contemporary role of the artist is presented by the collective Alterazioni Video. Starting from reflections of the mechanism by which artists and normal users are confronted when they want to play an important role in online context and beyond, they have interacted with a web platform for people who want to beat world records. Filming and documenting their attempts, which are some way violent and at the same time comic, the artists explore the limits of the more is better logic, the race to which artists must very often participate in, failing to concentrate on anything else other than the need to do better than others. The anxiety that comes from this perverse mechanism is the main focus of the project by Silvio Lorusso, who has set up a workstation and selected objects and suggest the depressing nature of so-called new economy. Behind the bright colors, the humorous terms and green love, it hides an aggressive world that pushes the individual to follow a philosophy of life that mixes leisure, work, and private life in order to achieve faster economic and private success. Each item added to this setup is the note of a polyphony which creates a portrait of neoliberal logic applied to real life. Salvatore Iaconesi and Oriana Persico, founders of the international platform network Art is Open Source, present a complex project which deals with several issues, from the way in which we make available information on our lives and experience on the web, to how we can shape our online identity. On the wall, there are diagrams explaining the operation of the system designed for the creation of algorithmically generated biographies, which can be seen on some tablets. The user browsing the net leaves behind a lot of data, either voluntarily or involuntarily. This information creates a quite accurate profile, sometimes more sincere than the one she could provide herself. In this project, the problems linked to the narration of both professional and private spheres are shown very clearly. The automatic system could replace the person, as she is pushed to interact on the net, constantly responding to preset inputs. Thank you, and enjoy the exhibition.
So we're running just a little bit behind, but it's actually not too bad. Thank you so much for these great introductions. Sabria, David wanted to say something about the German digital salon. And then we'll take a coffee break. And I would say that we started about a half an hour later. And so we'll just have to move everything a half an hour late. But as I said, I think we can probably catch up at some point. And after this coffee break, there'll be the guided tour to the Italian exhibition that Marco and Filippo just talked about. And so instead of 11:30, it will start exactly at noon. Sabria.
Just a few words to the German local circle. We will, what we worked on was the revitalization of the salon culture in digital age. We set up a blog called Goethe-Salon.de, which you can look at there at the computer. And we will have a traditional salon at 5 o'clock at best tea time, which will be held here. And in the brilliant Salon Intérieur I'm in French now, of the theater in Düsseldorf that borrowed us those great things. So please sit down and relax and see you later. Okay.